Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Wind Down Fridays with Give a Sister a Hug. I'm your girl, Author Erica. I have my fabulous co-host on with me today, Author Kim. Thanks for tuning in. As you all know, this is October, Breast Cancer and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And every day this month, this episode of Give a Sister a Hug is going to be Wind Down Wednesday. Wind Down Fridays will Give a Sister a Hug, the Survivor Story edition. So today we have one of our survivors on that's going to tell her story, Miss Natasha. Thanks for taking time out of your day to sharing your story and allow Give a Sister a Hug to share your story on the platform. So we're gonna pass the ball over to Miss Natasha, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to tell my story. My name is Natasha Mason. I am a survivor of 20 plus years of domestic violence and child sexual abuse. My abuser was my mom then husband, and it started at the age of 5. It started out as sexual abuse. By the age of 11, it progressed to physical abuse. And leading up to physical abuse, I guess thinking about it now, I think that he was preparing me for it because he would make comments like he could stop me from breathing. And I would say, no, you can't. And I took it as like jokingly, like, no, you can't, because I'll throw up and this, that, and the third. And he was like, no, you won't be able to. And it wasn't until when I was 11, and my mom had sent me to the store. Me and a friend had went to the store to get some things she wanted. And being teenagers, well, preteens, because I believe I was about 12 at the time. And we was hanging out with some boys talking, and I was a little longer than what I should have been. And she came to look for me. And when I saw her, we all ran. And she was like, I'm not going to chase after you. So she went back to the house. So after a few minutes, she came back with the car. So I ended up getting in the car with her going back home. And she ended up telling him what happened and where she found me. And he waited till I was asleep. And he came into my room hitting me. And while he was hitting me, he was asking what was I doing with the boys? What were we talking about? And before I could even answer, he kept slapping me, and he picked up a rope. And this rope is what I was using to play double dutch with. And he picked up this rope and he put it around my neck. And the next thing I knew, I was sitting on the floor, and he was taking the rope from around my neck, and blood was coming down my leg. And I knew then what he was capable of doing to me. And it pretty much, the next physical encounter didn't happen until after we had moved to California, which was about 2 years later. And it did get worse. I did have children by him. I have a total of 6 children, but only 4 of those 6 are his. He ended up getting full custody of them. And how it happened was when I left, I took all of them with me. And I ended up going to Connecticut, where I'm from, and that's where my grandmother lived. And in my mindset, I just said I needed to get to my grandmother's house. I needed to get to my grandmother's house. So what happened was I ended up going. I don't even know how I ended up at this church, but I ended up at this church, and I told them my situation. And they ended up paying for me and my children to go to California. I mean, to leave California and go to Connecticut, as well as taking us to the bus station and giving us money for food. What happened was, once I got to Connecticut at my grandmother's house, my aunt and my cousins were staying there. So they were telling me that, he's been calling and he's been making threats on the family and this, that, and the third. And so to keep the peace, I said, well, let me talk to him. And so when I had answered the phone the next time he called, he was saying he wanted to bring back to California anybody that wanted to come back. Now, at that point, my mindset was to do what I needed to do to keep him from contacting me. I regret the decision that I made, and what I had agreed to what he said. So what I did was I had asked them who wanted to go. And the only one who stayed was my oldest daughter, and everyone else had went back. He came back and got everyone else. I regret that even to this day, because even though I kept in contact with them over the phone, when they got older, they did have some anger towards me, and to the point where they don't really talk to me. Only one that still talks to me is my oldest son and my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter. And during this time as well, my mom, she was also being physically and verbally abused. But what happened was, there was a time when the both of them were on drugs. And it started out as like a weekend thing. But then as time went on and he started working, he stopped doing it. But she kept doing it. And it came to the point where she had got addicted to it. And so I ended up taking care of not only my children, but my sisters and brothers as well. And I did that until the day I left, which was October of 2000. And that day, it wasn't like any type of incident had happened. I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and the Lord spoke to me and said, take your children and go. And he said, if you don't go, if you stay, he's going to kill you. And prior to this, I already had that feeling. And so I also believe that he had that feeling because the incident had happened a couple of weeks prior, where he had came in and he threatened to hit me with a weight. And when I screamed, I guess my sister had thought he had hit me with it. So she climbed out her bedroom window and went to the payphone at the corner to call the police. The police was saying that, according to her, the police was saying that they couldn't kick the door in or anything because they didn't hear any screams coming out of the house. So she had to climb back into her bedroom window, and they knocked on the door. and he went and opened the door and let them in, and he got arrested. But when he got arrested, they had advised me then to take the kids and go, because he's going to be released. Only what he's going to have to do is pay a fine, and they're going to release him within a few hours. So at that time I did leave, but I did end up coming back. And the day that I actually left in October, I didn't have any money. So when the Lord told me to take my children and go, I was like, well, Lord, if this is you, then provide a way that I'll have finances, because I don't have any money. So while I was sitting there, I began to tell my sister what was going on and what the Lord was telling me. And while I was telling her, my oldest daughter had came in the living room. She had just came in from school, and she said, well, Ma, I just got my cheerleading uniform. I can go and take it back. So I said, well, how much was that? So she said it was $35. So, and at the time, her school was at the end of the block. So it wasn't like she had to go far. So I said, okay, go ahead. So while she was doing that, I was calling Greyhound to see where I could go with $35 and 5 children at the time. And I ended up being able to get a one-way ticket to Riverside, California, and had $5 left over. Oh. So after I packed up what I could and we left, when we got to Riverside, California, my mindset was, okay, I could find a DV shelter to go to, and I'll be okay. But when I got to Riverside and I called 211 from the payphone for a DV shelter, I was told if I didn't have any bruises, they wasn't going to take me. So then I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? So she gave me information for a regular homeless shelter to go to. Mm-hmm. So what happened was none of the cabs wanted to take me because I had 2 large luggages and 5 children. And it was this one small cab that the driver came to me and said, where do you need to go? And I explained to him, and he said, I know where that's at, but I don't think they open until November. So he ended up taking me and my children to the shelter, and they told me that they don't open till November right now, that they're closed. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I explained to the driver like what was going on. And what he did was he paid for a night at a motel for me and my children. He bought them McDonald's. And he said, I'm going to look around and find a shelter close in the area, and I'll let you know in the morning. And what he did find a shelter. He came and got me that next day, me and my children, and we went to a shelter in the next town over. And then being at the shelter, like right after breakfast, you had to leave and you had to take all your stuff with you. So it was me, my 5 children, and it was luggage in a shopping cart. Mm-hmm. And I had to push the shopping cart down to the shopping center and sit in the parking lot like, I don't know what I'm going to do next, because I didn't have any money. And I had started walking around. And like I said before, I don't know how I ended up at this church. And I went inside to see if they can help me. And she told me that she would let me know the next day. And so I was kind of disappointed because I thought she was going to tell me that they couldn't help, but they ended up calling the shelter actually that next morning, just as I was leaving, and they told me to come to the church. They wanted to talk to me. And so when I got there, that's when she explained to me that they were going to help. They were going to pay for our tickets. For Greyhound to go to Connecticut. And not only did they pay for the ticket, but they found a family who would drive us to the bus station because it was in the next town. And that family is the one that gave us the monies for food until we got to Connecticut. So after I got to Connecticut, it was just a lot that was going on. Like, he went and got a restraining order on me. He said I went past his house waving a gun and threatening him. And then right after he got the children back to California, I was served with papers for custody. And so a friend of mine had recommended that I call a sexual assault hotline. And in doing so, I had spoke to one of the counselors, and I met with her, and I told her what was going on. She began to write a notarized letter stating everything that happened and what he did and send it to the courts. So a couple of weeks after that, I received a letter from the court stating that I couldn't send any more correspondence and I had to attend the next court date. So at the time, I was not working, and I did not know that the agency that the hotline was with would have paid for me to go and paid for me and the children to fly back. I didn't know that at the time, and I just got discouraged and depressed. Um, and not long after that is when I had got my apartment. It was me and my oldest daughter and a friend of mine at the time. And so even through the years, I kept in contact with my children because I knew his work schedule. So I would call and speak to everybody when he was at work. But then there were times where I would meet certain people and I would share my story with certain people, and they were like, "Oh no, you need your children. Let me see if I can help you." But it was like a whole big runaround again. So I just at one point I got tired of trying and not getting results. So I just gave up. And so what happened was I started going to the domestic violence support groups. And going into groups, what I noticed was, although I shared the same type of physical abuse that they had experienced, no one there had, or at least they didn't say they had experienced any type of child sexual abuse. So even hearing their stories made me think of sharing my story as far as a book, because at that time I felt that there wasn't enough people telling their story about child sexual abuse, physical abuse, as well as having children by their abuser. So I began writing like little things here and there. And then in 2017 is when I self-published my first book, which is called The Secret Everyone Knew. And then just before that had came out, I had started, because I had moved to New York. I had got married and moved to New York, and I had started a support group as well as working at a domestic violence shelter. And then as time had went on, the support group ended up ending because my hours at work was changing. So I couldn't keep taking weekends off. So long story short, that marriage didn't work. I did end up moving back to Connecticut, which is where I am now, me and my youngest son. And I just finished having help with a workbook that just came out, and it's the Secret Everyone Knew workbook. And basically it is for people that have been through, whether it's domestic violence or child sexual abuse, because it touches on both areas, as well as warning signs and activities that you can do with your children to make them comfortable to come and tell you if they have been touched inappropriately. And that is my story.
That's a lot. Girl,
That's
like
a baby.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
that's a lot. Okay, so it's like I have questions, but it's like, oh, okay, that's a lot. So it started at 5, right? But was your mother aware, or she was aware and she didn't care?
Well, I did tell her when I was 7. We were in Massachusetts at his family house, and she was getting me dressed for school. And I guess she had a feeling. So she asked me, was he touching me? And I said, yes. I overheard her talking to his mom about it. And she was saying, I'll talk to him about it. I don't know what was said when he came in, but I do know that he pushed her down the stairs.
His mother?
And yes. And
When he pushed his mama down the steps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at that time, my mom had took me, and we ended up going to Connecticut to my grandmother's house. Shortly after that, she ended up back with him. Why, I don't know. But she ended up back with him, and I stayed with my grandmother for a couple of years, and eventually I ended up back with her.
So how did it make you feel when he was doing these things to you and your mama never intervened?
Um,
Can you recall?
I was hurt. Like the first time when he started coming into my room when I was 5, the first time he came in my room, I had told my mom, and she said, the next time he comes to your room, let me know. Just call my name or whatever. And when he came to my room and he stood at my doorway and he was just watching, I had screamed, "Mom, Mom," and he left. And I don't know what he told her, but she never came. So, and at that time, I hadn't told her that that was just he hadn't touched me at that time. He had just like was watching me. And so that next morning, she never said anything about it. So I didn't say nothing about it either. So I was like, in my mind, I was asking, like, why didn't she ask me, like, what happened or anything?
Right.
But as time went on, I just left it alone.
I mean, and as a child, and then, we believe everything mama say. When mama say, call me, I'm supposed to call you and you supposed to come, not
Right.
when I call you, it's like, where you at? So it should have been, it probably was heartbreaking. I can only imagine 5 years old standing on alone with at 5, that's like a big old giant to us at 5 years old.
Yeah.
It was only scary. So how did it make you feel like when you start having kids for him? Like this actually your stepdaddy.
What age were you when you had your first child?
Well, I was 12 when I first got pregnant, but I had an abortion. I was 14 when I was pregnant with my first child that I gave birth to. And what happened was I was thinking of having an abortion with that one. But what happened was when we moved to California, he wouldn't let me go anywhere. We were staying at hotels at the time, and he wouldn't let me go anywhere until after I was about 6 months pregnant.
And your mama was there.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I try not to. You know, I'm not. It's just, you know, I'm girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know. I just be trying to figure out what is wrong.
Well,
Like what?
she was also being physically abused as well. So I guess seeing her go through the abuse, made my relationship with her kind of like stronger or whatever, because in a way I felt that she was basically, with the exception of the sexual abuse, she was basically going through what I was going through, but he was physically abusing her more than he was me.
So it was basically like he was sexually abusing you and physical abusing her. So it was like I'm gonna do one to this one and do this one to the
No,
other.
he did both to me. He physically abused me as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. You know, it's just crazy because it's like, what do I do? I'm stuck in this situation. And then like you said, like every victim, I don't have the money to get away. So that means I have to stay. That means the abuse is gonna keep on, and then my mama not strong enough to help me because she's being beaten down. So in actuality, I guess he felt like she was too old. I don't want to screw her no more. I got some young meat, like, and it's kind of effed up, like it's really
Yeah.
kind of effed up. So at 12 years old, you pregnant for your stepdad, like, you know, so many things I can only imagine was going through your head. Did you ever knew your biological daddy? Did he knew what was going on?
I did know him. He did know what was going on, but he wasn't in my life like that. And
Okay.
he was also into drugs. He was addicted to drugs until about, I want to say 3.5 years ago.
Wow.
And he passed away in 2018 of cancer.
Did you ever talk to your kids about what has happened to you and why they are where they are?
I haven't, well, let me back it up. My oldest daughter and my oldest son knew what was going on. They didn't know in detail, but they knew. And that was because I spoken to them when I first thought about speaking about my story to see how they felt about it. And they both supported me. They just didn't want their names mentioned. And I said, okay, that's fine. But as time went on, I found out some things. Like, for an example, when my book first came out, before it came out, my mom was encouraging me to write the book. And I wrote it, even though when times when I didn't feel like writing it, she was still there, like, make sure, encouraging me to finish the book. But when the book actually had came out, and at the time I was in New York and my oldest son was with me, and I was on social media telling my story and saying what was going on. And her and I had the same friend on Facebook who also attended the same church she went to. And so she had approached her about the situation
Uh,
and
made her feel away.
made her feel away. She told my son, like, tell your mom right now I can't talk to her. And so I don't know what else was said. And I say that because my son began to tell me that she was saying that she don't know if it was true and some
Okay.
other things. And so my son was like, but Ma, I remember when we lived in North Long Beach. And I'm thinking back, and while he's telling me, like, I could see him holding back tears. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, what did he see? Because at that time, he was only like 6 years old.
Right.
And during that time, actually, it was like a rule when he turned, at that point, he wasn't no longer sleeping in the same bed as my mom. He was sleeping in the living room. And my bedroom was right off of the living room. And whenever he turned the TV off, I had to go in the living room with him. And so there were times where I would fall asleep from trying to stay up and then wake up to him hitting me, slapping me, or punching me, or choking me even because he thought I was asleep on purpose. So it got to the point where I would take no dose every day. And then after so long, that didn't even work because my body had got used to taking it. So when he was telling me that, that's all that was going through my mind. Like, what exactly did he see? Like, part of me wanted to ask him, but part of me didn't want to know what he had seen.
And the question is, have he was fooling with? Because you have he, you wonder if, he was fooling with, touch, he stepdaddy touch him or whatever, because you had to go be in there with him when he go to sleep and all that. So it's scary. Like, it would have been, I wouldn't have asked either because I wouldn't have wanted to know. But at the same time, did they get counseling in the end? No.
No. Mm-mm. No.
I'm sorry. I'm through with your mama. I'm through with her. I just want the girl. I just want to throw in the towel. I'm through with her. I am like, we give birth and we're supposed to protect our kids, period, end of story. I'm just, I'm just through with her. And then now that, this whole time, because somebody, that I know, that's why now all of a sudden now you're uncomfortable because
And now you
now
feel
we're
like
looking at you
it's not the
sideways
truth no more.
because we know you allowed that to happen. Because ain't no way. Ain't no way you gonna, I didn't know. BS, man. BS, man. And then you in the church. So of course, I mean that's a whole nother story in itself. But the church people was just relentless anyway.
And
And then
that's
I'm looking
probably
at you
why
saying,
she started saying that it wasn't true,
yep.
because you got church members now asking you these things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to, they're gonna want to know the truth. So now don't put this book out. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is the truth. It's my story.
It's
And
your
it's part
story.
of your story too.
Mm-hmm.
So as of
No,
today, as of now, today, are you going through any counseling? Did you are you getting help, or where are you now today in this mindset?
Um, I'm not going through any counseling. Um, I did have some healing through writing my book.
mm-hmm.
Also going through some issues in my marriage because a lot of it was mental and emotional abuse. And it wasn't until I was breaking down the meaning of it to someone and giving her examples of what it was. And in my mind, I'm like, well, dang, I've been experiencing this and I've been experiencing manipulation. And so it just had me think more about me. So I took that time to work on me because even though at that time I had like some self-doubt, I wasn't consistent with some things. as far as self-care with me. And with self-care, I meant like taking time out to getting to know me. And that's what I had took that time for. Writing stuff, what I like, what I didn't like, what did I want to work on, my goals for my son. I have my ex-husband and I have a 11-year-old special needs child who is also nonverbal. So writing my goals for what I wanted for him. Right. And in doing so, I started doing things for me, and he took it as me cheating on him, which never happened. And so things just got worse to the point where, like, I just didn't want to even be around him anymore. Mm-hmm. And so what I started doing was, instead of, usually I would tell him what I'm going to do before I do it. But what I started to realize that when I did that, it never fell through what I was trying to do. So I started looking for an apartment in Connecticut. I ended up buying me a car. When I got the okay for my keys and everything, mm-hmm. I told him I was leaving. But a month before I actually left, I told him I was leaving. Mm-hmm. But what happened was he ended up in a hospital. I left in August. He ended up in a hospital in July. So while he was in the hospital, I was still moving my stuff into storage. And so I had went to see him at the hospital. I had took my son to go see him. And I left for that weekend to come to Connecticut. He texted me and said, well, the doctors is going to be releasing me on this day. And so I said, well, since we're texting back and forth, I think I should tell you that I already moved out. He was angry, which I knew that was going to happen. And things were said that he said to his family, which I knew was going to happen because he was already doing that about me before I even left. Mm-hmm. So where it stands now is we are divorced. He was seeing our son every other weekend, but because of health issues, he hasn't. He's still talking about seeing him again, but I don't want to let him go see him until he is where he needs to be. Right. Because his health is really not good right now. Mm-hmm. But
and especially if your son is a special need kid, that
right.
means he needs all the attention. So his health ain't good, so that's not good for neither one of them. So yeah, that's understandable. I mean, it's just a lot. That's a lot, and it's
I'm glad you're still here, girl. I'm glad that you
right.
I'm glad I'm still here.
And you are able to tell your story, because good God Almighty, all that. I mean, you sometimes people read stuff and you're like, nah, that shit ain't true. Nah, ain't no way. Ain't no way.
And then for my stepdaddy, like
yeah.
I done had 4 kids for my stepdaddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you done, that's a fiction book you done wrote, and
right.
it's good, and it's good that you can verbally tell the story, because that's what people might ought to take it as a fiction, like that ain't real. That's something that she made up right quick. But that's not, and it's really not even in reality. It's really not. That's actually people's story.
Is he still alive?
He is. Actually, my mom told me recently that he's very sick.
I hope you don't think. I hope you don't think he's going to heaven.
It's coming back tenfold. You might not get it the way you gave, but that karma, girl.
Like my grandma said, karma is the BITCH. And
there was a time, there was twice where I tried to take my own life.
Well, I'm glad you did.
The first time I was in my teens, I was at my grandmother's house, and what happened was I had told her what happened just before she had went to North Carolina. She was a pastor, so she would travel out of state to go speak from time to time. And this particular weekend, she was going to North Carolina, and I ended up telling her what happened. At the time, he was at a halfway house, so how she got the number to where he was, I don't know. And she ended up talking to, I guess, parole. I don't know if they have parole or probation officers, but she ended up talking to him and telling him what happened. And I had to get on the phone to confirm what happened. He ended up going back to jail. A detective came out to talk to me with my mom. And what happened was, I used to have an address book with guys' names and phone numbers in it. And my mom found it. And she told me that if I didn't drop the charges, that she would give that book to his attorney. So I didn't want nobody knowing my business, not realizing that my business would be put out there anyway later on.
Right.
Wait.
So I ended up having the charges dropped. And during that whole time is where I tried to take my life. I took a handful of some prescription pills of my grandmother's. I don't even know what it was for. And I took a handful of it and I went and laid down on the couch, and I didn't think I was going to wake up, but I did.
So basically your mama blackmailed you to drop the charges.
Yep. Yeah.
I never thought of it like
that. Yeah. I mean, that's why I say I'm through with your mama. I'm through with her.
Wow.
I understand. We all have been through some type of domestic violence. So, some is the physical, sexual, financial, different parts of it. But it's just certain things I feel like you just can't cross the line with. And that right there, I mean, this is just my opinion and just my feeling. Everybody don't have to feel the same. But it's just, I'm through with her. I'm so sorry that she, neglected you the way that she did. And, me personally, I don't think I would be able to deal with my mother. I don't think I could be. That's, to me, I understand you got to go through the whole healing process. And I didn't been through all that. But at the end of the day, if you can't trust your mother or your father, then who in the hell can you trust? And if I can't trust you, you can't be a part of my life. And I'm not going to allow you to be a part of my life. That's why now at the age of 46, when I tell you, friends, family, my cutoff game is so quick. And everybody just like, I don't understand. Look here, you don't understand what I done been through. But it's none of your business about everything that I done been through. But when I tell you, if I see a red flag, you don't get 50-11 chances with me. You get one. And you already showed your color. And I'm done.
That's crazy. Like it was basically like she was helping him abuse you in so many ways. Like you straight, you done went got the little black book and you gonna all right. So if you tell, come on now, that's
that was dirty.
It's always, they say it's always the family ones that really hurt you the most. The ones you sleep in the bed with that hurt you the most. We do
what we do because we want to change the narrative in the Black community, because we were all raised that what happens in this house stays in this house. So that means you don't say nothing. Now, some things you have to tell. Some things you have to. You just, even
but that wasn't told to her to stay in the house. It was, if you tell her, I'm gonna release
it was at this point, I believe.
And then it was like basically Sean saying, I'm gonna show how much of a hoe you is.
She said her words were that she would give it to his attorney to let everybody know that I wasn't an angel.
So basically you saying that I'm a hoe.
Yeah.
Because I kept, I forgot.
And that don't mean that I slept with everybody.
Shit.
That don't mean I slept with everybody.
Exactly.
But
That don't mean
again,
everybody in that book I screwed.
I mean,
We
in
should
the
have been
mindset
friends.
of a child, teenager, again, we're supposed to believe our parents. Your parents is not supposed to steer you wrong. So for her to do that, ooh, that's foul. But now she trying to right her wrongs, and now she trying to go, I'm not, hey, what you do with the
Well,
church,
no,
what you
she
do with
said
the
don't
church.
put the book out. So she really didn't want to write her wrong.
She was fine until that day.
Until she got approached, yeah.
There
From
it is.
somebody in
Until
the
it
church.
was published, and to come to find out is, oh, you know somebody that I know. You ain't supposed to know nobody that I know, because it's supposed to be, yeah, because trust and believe she wasn't gonna help promote it. She wasn't gonna do none of that. From the back, she's gonna be, yeah, girl, yeah. Don't nobody want to read that. Ain't nobody gonna read that. Yeah. Now that somebody y'all have is mutual know about it, oh my God, yeah. Your story is out. Your secret is out. Now you're being looked at differently because who you claim to be is not who you are. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's all. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It is heartbreaking.
It is.
You know, like it's like, what more can you say? Because again, it's like, this is mama. Mama's supposed to protect. Mama's supposed to be there when I go through the bad things. Mama's supposed to be there when I have a boo boo. And mama's supposed to be there when, oh, I met this boy, like, oh, look at my book. Like, those are the things we supposed to share with mama. And mama was like, girl, you ain't supposed to be doing that. Oh, girl, how many that is? Nah. You tell, you say this, I'm going to expose you and show you you ain't nothing but a hoop. Like, what that say in the book? Like, what that say? It's like, you, who, again, who can you trust? If you can't trust mama, who else it is to trust? And it's scary, like, it is. I'm sorry, like, that every day you gotta look at her, because she gonna come around. But how far can I trust you? Woo! That's the big. That's like, that is really big, because that's mama. Again,
Mm-hmm.
you're not expecting her to talk about blackmailing me. So
actually, my sister and I recently talked about this in depth, and I didn't know that she had approached her when she was 14. And at this point, I had been left. So she said she had approached her about it when she was 14. And she told her that I had ran away and took one of her 90s or something in that area. And I'm thinking, and I remember that time when I ran away, but I'm like, one, we were staying at my grandmother's house, and two, I took no clothes. And I was right down the street the whole time.
she was trying to paint you as this horrible person.
I don't want to say yeah, but yeah.
Right, you don't.
Yeah.
It's like,
Only because like I'm very
Erica, that's
close.
not what she painted me. But in actuality, it's like, girl, hell yeah, that's what she was painting. Because that's not what you want to say about your mama.
Right.
That's
And I'm
not
really
like, that's
close
not.
to her, even though what happened. I'm very close to her, and I'm very protective of her at some point.
Right. Because that's mama.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, it's like, it's just free over here. That's mama at the end of the day, regardless of what happened. We could get over that. We're going to get over that. We're going to have this relationship because that's mama. But it's hard, so I get it. Like, I'm not mad because that's mama at the end of the day. How much she done blackmail and everything. That's mama. You know, like it, let's call it what it is. It is what it is. But that's mama. And I get it. I totally understand that. Like that's nothing to be ashamed of because that is mama. So before we
I
leave,
no comment to that.
right, like before we leave, do you have anything for any lady or man that's out there in a situation, domestic violence, child abuse, whatever it is? What suggestion do you have for them?
To get out, to make a safety plan and to get out. Know your worth. Um, I would like to say a scripture that I keep
Okay.
on my mirror
Okay.
and I say it constantly to myself,
Right.
which is Proverbs 3:15, which says, "She is more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared to her."
Yes, that's a good one.
Wait,
That's a real good one. That's a real good one.
So
Proverbs, what?
Proverbs 3:15.
It is more precious than, yeah. I'm highlighting that. So with that being said, I want to say thank you for sharing your story, and I know it's a lot of touchy things and that's there, but I want to say thanks for allowing us to share your story on our platform. I don't have anything. Kim, you have anything before we go?
Uh, no, I'm still speechless. I'm still speechless. No, I don't. I mean, I'm glad that you allowed us to share your story. We're grateful for that. It's just continue to find your healing, through, if it's, your book, or, speaking, or, whatever it is to, go through and get through and continue on to spread the awareness, because we need, to hear the stories, because honestly, we have more white people that's willing to tell their story than we do black people. And it's not a racial thing. It's just, again, we're taught whatever happens at home stays at home, and we don't talk about it. And it's, I'm trying so hard with trying to change the narrative. I do have a nonprofit for domestic violence. Um, I'm looking to have a facility, but the problem with that is when it comes to a lot of grants and things like that, I don't want a lot of grants and stuff, because I don't want you telling me what I can and can't do, because how they told you you had to have you can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. And that's where, it's taking my journey a little longer. But there's gonna be, at the end of the tunnel, I might not see it yet, but it's gonna be some light there. It's gonna be some light. So, I just keep striving to do, what we're doing. And I thank you, and I'm glad you're in a good spot, a peace within yourself, that you can continue to have a relationship with your mother. I just can't say I can do that, but I'm thankful that you're able to do that.
And I hold all that anger anyway because that anger won't do anything. She, at the end of the day, she have to bear that cross because when it all said and done, she got to answer to the big man upstairs on why
Hmm.
you let this happen because our children are precious. So gotta let that anger go because you can't let that anger stop you on your journey and where you trying to go at. Because again, she have to bear that cross, and I do know how that is because I deal with my brother, so I can't keep fussing with him about certain things that he do with his mama. But you gotta bear that cross at the end of the day. When you go face the big man upstairs, you gotta answer to those times that you wasn't there. So you gotta let it go, because you can't allow that to stop where you going at. And that's my theory. I can't allow the anger, or I can't be frustrated, I can't be bitter, because guess what? Being all those things gonna put a halt to where I'm trying to go at. And I'm trying to go somewhere. I ain't got time for your shit. So I'm trying to go somewhere. You hold on, that's your cross that you gotta bear. You gotta talk to the big man upstairs. And guess what? That's all on you, baby. Because at the end of the day, we all gonna live. So I feel you. Don't hold that bitterness. Don't hold that anger, because it's not gonna get you nowhere. It's just gonna get a big old stain still. And then you're gonna be this big old angry person at the end of the day. And we ain't trying to have that. We got too much going on in life. So I get it, and let it go. God, she got to bear that cross. So that's what it is. So I want to thank everybody from tuning in to Wind Down Fridays will Give a Sister a Hug, the Survivor Story episode edition. And I want to thank Natasha from sharing her story and allowing Give a Sister a Hug. So I'm your girl, author Erica. I have my fabulous co-host, author Kim, on with me. Have a great day, and thank you for tuning in.